welcome to Finally Game Music. This is your host, Christoffer Tengdahl, and this is episode 141. This is crazy. We're going up in the numbers. And today we're going to have a Castlevania special, and together with a guest. Together with me this week is Christoffer Tengdahl. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm totally excited as well. I know there are a lot of people out there who are totally excited for a special like this. Both you and me know pretty well that Castlevania is a big series between us gamers. It's super crazy what's going on right now.
It's huge. It's one of these like monoliths of gaming. You know, like you have your Castlevanias, you have your Mega Mans, you have your Metroids, and the soundtracks of them all is also like one of the like titans of game music. Definitely, and also to see the video adaptations as well on Netflix, for example. They're up in is it like 4 seasons now or something? Yeah.
And it's totally rad as well. And as you said, these titans of music as well, we can actually hear them within these adaptations as well. So it's just super exciting. So it's going to be amazing to talk about the different kind of games in the series. And we're going to go through them in more of a chronological order, game-wise. So we might jump back and forth a little bit, time period-wise, when we're talking about the story of Castlevania. You are going to be the more professional one guiding me in this one because you have way more experience within this series than I do. But I'm going to be the kind of researcher going on this ride and just enjoying the tour that we're going to get as well. But we're going to talk about the music, the composers behind the music, and also talk about the game specifically. So what would you say? Was the first Castlevania your first Castlevania game as well, or was there some other game within the series that was your first Castlevania game?
No, the first Castlevania game was my first Castlevania game as well. I played it when I was really young, because I'm born in 1986. So I started playing when I was like 3, maybe. That
is really young. Definitely really young. But it wasn't that much of a hassle playing like 2D games with sprites of this kind of like 8-bit era.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you move with this button and then you have these 2 buttons that do actions.
Yeah, exactly. It was quite simple back then.
Yeah. Nowadays it's not as easy to get into.
We got more than like 12 buttons on just a controller today, back when we only had 4 buttons with start and select as well.
Yep.
So that was crazy times. But so do we want to talk a little bit more about who you are so people get to know you here in the podcast before we're diving deeper into the Castlevania universe?
Sure. My name is Christoffer Tengdahl. I am also known as Ultrafail from the gaming podcast Game Over.
Yeah.
Which I run with my very good friend and podcasting partner, Mabaya.
Which is also a very good podcast. It is really nice to just listen to it and enjoy what you're talking about.
Well, thank you.
So, and with that said, people now know a little bit more about you. So let's get deeper into the universe of Castlevania.
Yes,
I've done a little bit of summary to kind of say this is generically the Castlevania series. So over here in the West, it's more known as Castlevania. And it started out in Japan, where it more is commonly known as Akumajo Dracula. And I don't know the specific Japanese word for it, but converting that one to a direct translation is actually translated as Devil Castle Dracula, which is also pretty nice to just see.
Yeah.
So looking at the series, this is an action game series developed by the Japanese company Konami. And the setting for this series and plot elements within are loosely based on the Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, with a focus on fictional characters. And in the series, we are focusing on the protagonist belonging mainly to the Belmont family, with a few exceptions, and we're going to talk a little bit more about those during this episode today as well. And their main kind of resource of what they actually do is that they hunt powerful vampires, and most commonly known as Dracula.
Yeah.
But yeah, over the course of all the adventures they go through, we will see like returns of multiple type of characters. Definitely Dracula is one of them within this series. Either you usually fight him somewhere in the end, or you're doing something else to him during the game.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, so the first song we're going to listen to this week is a pick you made, and it is, yeah, actually from the first game. So we're going to listen to Wicked Child. Castlevania Wicked Child. This is a really interesting song. First of all, it's, for me at least, one of the more common ones that I hear when I'm thinking about Castlevania. I don't know about you, Christoffer.
This is actually my pick of best Castlevania song.
Ooh.
Like all the songs that are out there, this is my favorite.
Ah, nice. Is it one of your favorites from the original? Not thinking about remixes and recomposures of the tracks as well?
Yeah, like the I don't know, like I just think it works very well in that this whole the whole structure of mixing like classical music with the more modern rock, metal, techno kind of thing that Castlevania has been striving for forever.
Yeah, it kind of defines, when you're listening to this one, you can hear Simon in this case, who is the first protagonist we get to know in Castlevania, because this is the first released game. So in this game, you're playing Simon Belmont, and you can basically hear him walk around to this tune. That's always what I'm thinking. Getting like the kind of faster part of the song, you can actually like hear enemies coming in and about, and just Simon kicking their asses.
Yeah, it's really interesting because this song is very bass driven. Yes. So you can hear these kind of like the syncopated like the syncopated things that like go against that bass line. Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting.
Definitely agree with you. It's really, really good. And just when something we haven't really got in touch yet, because it's still just the first song, but a lot of the different Castlevania songs, you can usually hear a couple of them, especially more the kind of ones. Wicked Child is a song I do remember kind of comes up in later games as well. But there are a couple of songs that kind of come back and forth between different kind of games within the Castlevania series. So it's really nice to kind of hear some of these really nice tunes. For example, the background song we had in the beginning, the Bloody Tears tune, is also a tune you usually hear over and over again. Yeah. In different kind of versions. But it's really nice to hear them from different versions and different consoles as well, just to hear the sound chips work their best.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like you could like mix this endlessly. I think it's such a good song.
Yeah. So the one we listened to this time is the original for the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. And looking at the composers here, there are actually multiple of them. When you wrote me this one, I actually just saw one name. But just digging a little bit deeper within the soundtrack of this, there are actually 2 other composers for this soundtrack that are uncredited.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting because I did not know that. The one you actually wrote down is one I do know. She is known as James Banana, which is an amazing name to take, in my opinion.
there actually is a reason why she's called James Banana.
Okay.
It's a little nod to the Hammer films, Dracula from 1958 with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, because the composer there was James Bernard. If you say that in Japanese, it's James Banado.
And then, that's really nice.
Then it turns into banana. So
yeah, I think I actually did read this because, as you said this, I got myself reminded. Why do I know this?
Yeah.
Been working with a podcast, thinking about weird information all the time.
Yeah.
I guess I tend to lose some things.
Yeah. It happens. You get to you do a podcast and you know all these obscure details about games and then they just fall out after a while.
Yeah, but always when you're having conversations with people, you're like, it comes back in like a random like banana coming in. It's like, oh, also, do you know this? They're like,
exactly.
How do you know this?
Exactly.
Yeah, but James Banana, or more commonly known, is Kinuyo Yamashita. Also, together on this soundtrack, we have Satoe Terashima and Hidenori Masawa.
Yes.
And these are like the first kind of... I don't remember the name. It's like... Isn't the Kukeya Club or something like that? Which is the name of the people working on the music within Konami. It's like their house band.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so for example, just to kind of put it on the other end, you had Falcom, which has their Falcom sound team, for example. So, but just looking at Konami Kukeya Club, it kind of more sounds like an after work kind of thing.
Yeah, it really does. Like
it's like a chess club.
Exactly. They feel so. How do you say, like, so friendly with each other?
Definitely.
And like,
Kukeya, I don't know what Kukeya means or something like that, or is it just a random name?
I have no idea.
That is something we can look up after this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody can do this research to get to know, because this is just like a great way to get people researching themselves as well, not just throwing all the information out all the time.
Exactly.
But yeah, when it comes to the first Castlevania game, I think it's like almost easier to say which consoles and platforms it did not release on, because it released on so freaking much. Yeah. Over the course of time here. But initially it was released on, I don't remember specifically which one it was, because I've only written down the release date, but it was the 26th of September 1986. So it was actually the same year you was born.
Yeah.
But
just
were you
a couple of months after?
Yeah, just a couple of months. You're actually older than this game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So like Castlevania is your little brother now, or something like that. Yep. So that's
always been with me.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, as I said, in Castlevania we are following Simon Belmont, and do you want to give a little good glimpse? What's so amazing? What captivated you with the first Castlevania game here?
I think it was. I think it's because like the early games were often derivative of arcade games. So a lot of games had these stages that were designed to be really, 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 really hard, just because. In the arcades, you always had that what they would call a coin eater, which is a stage that is ridiculously hard, so that people will play the game and will play it over and over and over again because they can't get past that stage, so it eats a coin. It's like,
and they don't want to start over either.
Exactly. So you still have that in the back of your mind when you're playing, when you're designing these kinds of games. And you also want like this game has 6 stages, so you kind of want that people to get enjoyment of this game as long as they can, because you're paying like 600 crowns for this game when it released.
So, games were expensive back then.
Oh yeah, they were.
I mean,
they are today,
like
but
but looking at the inflation of prices and everything, it's just crazy. Like 600 Swedish krona. I mean, you you got one game a year if you're lucky.
Yep. So that's usually the case why old NES games are classified as hard.
Yeah.
And I think it became a little bit of an obsession for me when I was young, to like, well, I'm gonna beat this game. So I played it over and over and over and over again, and I think that's why I became so enamored with Castlevania as a whole series.
Yeah. For me, myself, I do believe Castlevania, the first game, was also my first game, because I visited friends, and most likely some of my friends actually had this Castlevania game. And yeah, it was around the same time you usually played Mega Man and stuff like that, but there was something special when it came to Castlevania, because most of the games you usually played were more fantasy based. More of the sci-fi ones were like Mega Man and stuff like that, but it almost felt like I mostly played like fantasy games, and it was quite unique when you're looking at Castlevania, because Castlevania is the only game where you actually did not use a sword or an axe or something like that. You actually used a whip.
Yep.
And it felt so unique to just go around and just whip people. You had the range all of a sudden, which was amazing to have, because usually when you just had a sword or something, it was just super freaking small, like a Zelda game, and it was like everything is hitting you all the time, and you're like, what the hell is happening? But when you're looking at Castlevania, you all of a sudden had the range, you had the whip to attack with, you whipped the shit out of candles, and you collected hearts, and you collected new power-ups and sub-weapons, which was also amazing, because just having the sub-weapons with holy water, the cross, and everything there. It was just amazing. It was just super fun to play with, even though the game is hard.
It's hard, but and limitations are in there. But limitations lead to creativity. So they had to like work around everything like this, and that's why also like a lot of these old, especially like NES titles have. Often have interesting songs because they had so little to work with. They had 4 channels to work with, so it's like, okay, what do we do with this? So we have the noise, we have the bass, and we have the 2 melody. How do we make this interesting? So they had to like think. They were limited in what they could do. So they had to like think about, okay, well, if we tried this, like if I'm quickly go back to Bloody Tears, and a little bit in this Wicked Child as well. You have the 16 notes played with a pedal point, which is a pedal point is where you basically where you take one note and go back to every second note in 16 notes. So it sounds like you have a pedal point in the back line of that song. Nice. Which is the whole da 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 part of Bloody Tears.
Did not know that.
and you do this, and I think it's directly like inspired by one of the like really really gothic songs that usually are connected with Dracula. Like it's called Bach's Toccata in the Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. If I maybe I'm misremembering the name, but I think it's Bach's Toccata in and Fugue in D minor. Okay. Which is the one of the most famous organ music. It's like that. Da-la-da-la-la-da.
I
That
think
song.
many of us know that, especially if you grew up with an older phone, because it usually had that sound.
Yeah. So that's the one, and these pedal point 16 notes reoccur in that whole piece over and over again. So I think it might be like a direct,
like a nudge to it.
Yeah, exactly. So they used the whole classical ideas to make interesting music into the NES era of music. And I just think it's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool, to be honest. Just how much that inspired people as well is also always fascinating. I know listening to like interviews with Hip Tanaka, for example, is really nice to just hear all the different kind of funk and jazz influences that he utilized for a couple of the music and work that he did, for example. But yeah, I think we have enough information for the first Castlevania game, and I think we should, before starting and diving deeper into story, we're actually going to transcend to the next one, because it kind of touches the first game a little bit as well.
Yes.
So we're going to listen to Stage 9, the Treasury Room, from Super Castlevania 4. And there we have it, the Super Castlevania 4 Stage 9 Treasure Room. And this one was actually a little bit different looking at the other tunes we have for this week. I actually picked this one because, first of all, I really find this scene very interesting, or the level, so to speak. But also, it kind of, just listening to the music, kind of pulls back the soundtrack a little bit. We don't have this high adrenaline-rushed rock music going on here within the Treasure Room. So looking at the music here, I kind of like it being more down low. It kind of fits the level really, really well, because when it comes to the art style of this one, of course, as the title says, it is a treasure room. There's like gold and diamonds like everywhere, and yet again, you're playing as Simon Belmont in this game, because it's more of a remake with more levels than the first Castlevania game. And also in Super Castlevania, they utilized the Mode 7 chip for the Super Nintendo, so they added a couple of like spinning levels and levels that kind of rotate and kind of bring forth like a new level of building levels. I really enjoy this game really, really much. Back in the day when I was younger, it was super hard. It is still super hard. We talked a little bit before about me playing this game on a PSP, so I played it emulation-wise because I wanted to have it handheld, and I'm too poor to buy a Super Boy, which is like a third-party handheld device for Super Nintendo. You just take the whole cartridge and you just shove it in like a Game Boy. I really want one, but they are expensive. But I really want one sometimes in the future. It would be hilarious to have one. But yeah, I really did enjoy this game. It is super fun, just like the first Castlevania game. But the new unique thing that kind of make the game kind of hilarious in some way is the new way the whip work. Do you remember what's so unique?
It's you can hold the attack button and then you keep the whip out, but it doesn't do that attack anymore. It just flails about.
Yeah, it just
and
hangs.
And you can move around a little bit, and it'll.
And it kind of uses physics here for the first time as well.
Yeah.
Because when you're putting inputs like left, right, up, down, it's not like you're whipping that way. It's just that your character, Simon, is just putting his arm forward, backward, up, or down.
Yep.
So you can utilize this up, down to kind of swing about. So you can actually like flail around that.
Yep.
Whip. I just love it. It's just so hilarious. I'm sorry, just thinking about it makes me laugh.
This is also the first game where you start utilizing your whip for other than attacking. So you use it to swing through like these hooks that you can attach your whip to and swing over a pit or something like that.
Yes, and you will hook up to like rings or chandeliers or hooks. There are many different kinds, so you gotta keep in mind and try to figure out what you need to hook. Because I didn't, and that cost me a lot of lives jumping into pits. I thought I could jump over, which I couldn't. You were supposed to hook into chandeliers and go over. It was like super obvious apparently to the game, not for Chris.
No.
But yeah, looking at this, we have way more stages here. I don't remember exactly how many stages. Maybe you have a
not on the top of my head.
Yeah, I know the treasure room comes about the later in the game, so I would say it's like 12, 13 stages or so.
Yeah, I think the treasury room is the midpoint, because I think that's where you get like into a different part of the castle that you don't see on the map on the first go.
Yeah.
So I think it's about the midpoint of the game. The boss you fight in this is kind of interesting though. It's like a big bat that's made out of the treasure.
Yeah, and I hated that boss. It was the worst boss in the game, in my opinion. It was super hard.
It's really hard.
I was trying to just brute force it. It's like, don't care about it, like evading, just hit. I was like in full panic mode.
The interesting part about it is that it like shrinks every time you hit some of this treasure off it, so it just gets smaller and smaller and harder to hit as well and faster.
So it kind of, the bigger that is, the easier it is to hit, and also the slower it is. But as you said, just the smaller it becomes harder to hit, and it moves about faster, but it still works around its pattern. So it's kind of nice to kind of find the pattern before shrinking it too much, so you can't hit it anymore.
Yeah.
So that is really important. But yeah, looking at the music here, more levels equals more music equals, a little bit more composers here. So looking at the sound designers or composers are the Japanese Masanori Adachi, or in the credits known as Masanori Odachi. And I don't know why they just changed the A to 2 O's in this one, but hilariously on them. We have Akira Soji, or Soji, in the credits, and Taro Kudo, known as just Taro, in the credits here. And if you didn't know, and for some of the listeners who might do not know, usually the changes come for one reason. Because back in the day, the Super Nintendo era, there was a lot of kind of looking at the music and programming and everything. It was quite hard. People were headhunted all the time. So they usually did not either enter people within a credits screen at all, or if they did, they usually changed their name. But just changing one letter from Adachi to Odachi, I didn't really see the point there.
Yeah, no.
Just using, have taken Akira Soji here and just going Soji. Soji is his last name with S-O-J-I, but when they typed it out, it's S-O-U-J-I. So they added a U within there, and they don't have his first name in the name either.
Yeah, that's going to be harder to find, but...
Exactly. It's like, but it's still super confusing for the OD, and I don't know if there's a story behind it. But I would love to hear if somebody know if there are a story around there. But yeah, looking at the game release here, it released back in 1991, so it's actually a couple of years after the first release.
Yeah.
So from 86 to 91. And it was released the 31st of October in Japan, and later in December it had a release in the US. And lastly in Europe back in 1992. The game was also released through the eShop on both Wii U back in 2013 and on the 3DS back in 2016. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is also a little bit. But yeah, I want to dive in here, since this is just like a remake of the first game with just more levels and way better graphics. What is the story about here? What is Simon Belmont doing in the castle except killing Dracula?
Well, the story is that Simon Belmont's wife has been kidnapped by Dracula, and Simon Belmont, being of the Belmont family, goes into Castlevania, or Dracula's castle, to stop him and save his girl. That's what it was on the arcade anyway. You got to know this, but in these later iterations, it kind of just becomes like, okay, Dracula has come back. We've defeated him before, but he's come back again. 100 years later, now we, the Belmont clan, has to do it. Has to defeat him. And it actually ties back to some changes in the timeline, which is from the PlayStation 2 game Lament of Innocence, which is the first chronologic game in the timeline, so to speak, where you play as Leon Belmont against what becomes Dracula at the end. And there, when you defeat Dracula, you get he curses your family bloodline, like the Belmont family bloodline, to have to come back and fight him. So every time he resurrects, his family bloodline will have to fight him. It's
like an eternal rival or enemy or nemesis, so to speak. That is a pretty bad curse. I gotta give them that.
It's a pretty bad curse. And Simon also gets cursed after he defeats Dracula, and that's where the whole story from Simon's Quest, the second Castlevania game, comes from. So he's cursed, and the creatures, like Dracula's creatures, don't disappear with him that time. So he has to see what that's about, and they're trying to resurrect Dracula, and he has been cursed. So he's trying to break this curse while he goes around. So he actually has to go around and resurrect Dracula himself to then be able to kill him again.
And I find this pretty interesting as well, because looking at the Castlevania series here, the adaptation from Netflix, they actually took a little bit of liberty to change the story a little bit here.
Yeah.
So if people are more commonly known and haven't played these older games and know the story from them, they kind of get a good kind of glimpse on what's going on by looking at the video adaptation here. There are some changes. For example, it's not Simon that goes around and collecting all these body parts. It's actually like cultists and stuff like that. But it still kind of have the same kind of core to it, which I kind of like, because people and fans are always talking about on the internet, and I kind of read that before watching the series, and I myself don't really care that much. I'm still enjoying the series very much, both game-wise and video-wise on Netflix.
Yeah, I since I know all the story behind this, like it's a lot of things taken from Dracula's Curse, or what's it called? Castlevania 3.
The Dracula's Curse.
Dracula's Curse. And a lot of Curse of Darkness, which is the part where you get to follow Hector, who is the Forge Master. So those two games influence the story heavily in this Castlevania series.
Yeah. No, but that is really nice. And also for people who kind of don't follow that much on what we're saying here, goes back and forth and stuff like that, there will be a link to a place called the Castlevania Dungeon. And from that place is like a super Wikipedia by fans, for fans, where they actually go through the story and they go through all the games and all the characters, this and that. It's kind of in-depth. I would recommend, if you're interested in learning more about Castlevania, definitely go visit this homepage, and you will get a good glimpse of all the different games in the chronological order from story perspective. And they kind of go through the whole storyline, and it is actually super interesting. If you're not following what we're talking about here. So that is a great way to kind of take it more easy instead of listening to this podcast multiple times, even though I kind of like if you want to listen to the podcast multiple times.
Yeah, they should just listen to the podcast over and over.
That's definitely. First of all, we have amazing music in this episode, but also we have two amazing people
Exactly.
talking. So it's just confusing that both of them are named Christoffer.
Yeah. Well,
what are the odds? But yeah, I think it's time for us to kind of go through this one. We defeated Castlevania here, and we will proceed to the next game here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're heading over to the next one, which is Castlevania Bloodlines, and the song you picked, "The Sinking Old Sanctuary." Castlevania Bloodlines, The Sinking Old Sanctuary. And this, my friends, is actually a game that was released only on the Genesis.
Yeah.
And this is why also we have a little bit of difference in how the soundscape is within this song. But I was actually super close. You were the one, Christoffer, who actually picked this song. I was super close to picking this myself. Mm-hmm. So I want to think, why did you pick this song from Bloodlines?
Well, I wanted to pick one from Bloodlines just because it's the first game or the first Castlevania game for the legendary Michiru Yamane.
Yes, that is correct, and that is also the only composer. Usually, when we listen to the other games, you usually had multiple composers. I think this is one of the first games. It might not be the first game, but one of the first games.
I think it's the first game with a singular composer, actually.
Yeah, which is fun to see as well. Just having one composer working on all the music.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, and I know that. When she was asked to do this, she really thought it was a daunting task because of how well received the music had been throughout the whole series so far. But when she listened to it, she realized that, like, okay, all these symphonic parts, I really enjoy all these symphonic parts. That's what I grew up with listening to. So if I just focus on like what I know and add some rock influences into it, that might work. And so that's what she did.
And so it did.
And so it did. It really worked. Yeah. And then she would go on to create some of the most iconic Castlevania songs of all time, which this one is one of them.
Yeah.
Like every time you look at like a top 10 Castlevania songs, this song in one of its many forms, like the Sinking Old Sanctuary, is usually on there.
No, it's really nice to listen to it. I really think it stands out in a good way. listening to it through the Sega system here.
Yeah.
It kind of is a great melody going in. It kind of flows in a good way. You get the feeling of water somehow. I don't know why. But looking at the level, if I remember correctly, you had like this parallax thing going on.
Yep.
Am I remembering it correctly?
Yeah. No, it's exactly how you remember it. It's like it's called the Sinking Old Sanctuary for a reason, because it's an old sanctuary. You're in, I think,
You're jumping
Greece.
around on the ruins as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
The Bloodlines is also based in Europe, like most of the games.
Yeah. So I think you're in Greece and walking around, and the sanctuary is actually like sinking, and you jump around and get chased by the water that is rising and stuff like that. So
and also water monsters, because why not?
Exactly.
But yeah, this game was also released in 1994. So we had that said.
Yeah, I stood between this one and Aquarius from Castlevania 3, which both are really good songs. But I was like, well, we have one song from the NES already. Let's go into let's dive into the Genesis, because it's a different soundscape. It's kind of interesting to see like the evolution of how the sound evolved through through the ages.
And also Aquarius is another song that kind of comes back and forth between multiple of the games as well. When it comes to certain musics, and especially what the series kind of became as well over time, I would say it's kind of like you're playing like a Zelda game, but you're playing it in 2D platforming.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you still have these, like, the Aquarius music is like, oh, you're in the water temple.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny thing about that is this is also the first game that borrowed heavily from the past games. So there's a lot of composed music for this game, but she also arranged old music in this.
Oh, that is nice.
In this game, that was one of the things that she would use to like put her fears to rest. Like, okay, let's check out this old music. How can I rearrange it? Okay, this is how it works. And I think that whole process led her to finding out about what I was talking about before with the whole pedal point from Bach's Toccata.
Yeah.
And Fugue, because she uses in Symphony of the Night when she composed the inverted castle theme called that theme is called Final Toccata, and it has a lot of it's taken very like liberally from the Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
Oh, cool.
They sound a lot the same. Like the Final Toccata and this has parts of it that are basically ripped straight from, like which is amazing. I just find it amazing that more than one of the composers for this game series has taken like inspirations from the same song that usually represents Dracula, and organ playing and stuff like that. It's amazing.
And they kind of make their own thing about it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. It
doesn't sound like a rip-off.
Totally different.
Yeah.
No, it's totally different. Totally different parts of the song. Totally different ideas taken from the song. It's just. It's amazing to see that how the composers think about like this medium.
Yeah, definitely. It's always interesting. Usually what I'm referring to when I'm talking about like the same kind of thing going on, but they kind of make different version of it, is that I'm usually talking about, for example, Disney, for example. They usually do these kind of tests to see if artists can do the same kind of style to each other. So they usually go out and paint a tree from different angles, and everybody will have the same tree, but you will have different styles all the time. And they kind of use this to kind of like get on to the kind of same wavelength when making movies, which is just insane when it comes to it. But just think about it, when all the different Disney movies were hand drawn all the time. You can't sit there and redraw like it's like 24 pages a second, because you have the 24 frames per second.
Yep.
And you need to do that like 30 minutes. It's like, yeah, this is 30 minutes of every second going like 24 pages. It's just crazy and insane.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting just having this kind of put into the controversy of music instead of painting. That's what I'm trying to get at here. But when it comes to Castlevania Bloodlines, since we have jumped a couple of games here and there, going from Nintendo, 8-bit, and now on Sega Genesis, so we're kind of same generation as the Super Castlevania game here. But what feels really unique with Bloodlines is actually you are able to pick one of two characters within this game. And I do believe this is the first Castlevania game you are actually able to do so.
Yeah, I think
in this case. And you can either pick John Morris, which is from Belmont lineage. He comes from the Morris clan, which is an offshoot of the Belmont clan, which mainly resides within the US, story-wise now. Or you can pick John Morris's friend, Eric Lecard, which is a French dude with a really cool spear. And in this game, John Morris is using a whip, and yes, he is using the Vampire Killer whip, which everybody knows from the video adaptation or from the earlier games where Simon Belmont is using the Vampire Killer. And I think you should be the best one to kind of take it off over here and talking about a little bit of the story in Bloodlines.
Yes, in Bloodlines, what's happening is that you actually do not fight Dracula in this one as well. That's also because what they're trying to do is they're resurrecting Elizabeth Bathory, which is also one of these historical figures that is tied to vampirism. And she in turn tries to resurrect Dracula. So John Morris and Eric Lecard goes out to try and stop them. Yes. So and I just realized that you actually in Castlevania 3 you get to play other characters as well. You get to play people that aren't tied to the Belmont family in that, because it's so early that the Belmont lineage hasn't diluted down so much yet. Okay. So you get to play because you get to play what's it called, the Dynasty, the pirate, and you also get to play Sypha and Alucard. So.
Yeah, and Sci-Fi is somebody we know from the series as well, if you haven't played the games but seen the video.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that is really nice too. And it kind of all comes together, and I really like this. That's what I really like about the video adaptation, because I know of the games a little bit. I don't know all the characters, for example, but it's really fun to kind of see this come back and forth. And it's always kind of like a weave. It always comes back and weave into each other at some point.
Yeah, what I find fun about watching the adaptation is, for me, who knows all the backstory already, I can't predict what's going to happen because they took like liberties to change a whole bunch of things around. So all right, let's see where this leads.
So because it's just based on, it's not an adaptation of a game and such. And something we're not going to talk about today, so I think it's better to kind of call it out already here. There are some Castlevania games that do have a female protagonist as well, where I think the first one that got released was actually Castlevania Legends. I'm a little bit unsure, but you play as Sonia Belmont in that
Sonia Belmont, game.
And I know there's some women on a couple of the front. I think Order of Ecclesia, you play a girl as well.
Yeah, you do. Shinoa.
Oh yeah, Shinoa. Yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit of Shinoa and some other characters throughout the game in the last game of this week as well. But yeah, so people know that they're not just a manly man bunch of Belmonts doing stuff. There are actually badass women as well within this series.
Yeah. While we're talking about John Morris here, he also has a descendant called Jonathan Morris, and in that game. It's Portrait of Ruins, where you also play as Charlotte. Charlotte Morris. You go back and forth between Jonathan and Charlotte.
Okay, that sounds interesting, to be honest.
It's a fun game. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I heard good about. Well, it's hard to say something bad about Castlevania games unless they're on M64. But also something interested because I haven't played Bloodlines to that in-depth of things. I never completed the game. I rarely did complete any Castlevania game. But something that actually was interested, you said the descendant about Jonathan Morris. But John Morris is actually dying at the end of Bloodlines. He uses the vampire killer, but since he is not a direct descendant from the Belmont family, he is not able to kind of have the full potential of the whip. Therefore, it is actually sapping his life force. So during the fight with Dracula, thus defeating him, also the whip drains the last life remaining of John Morrison, which he ends up dying because of the whip and defeating and saving humanity. I think it's kind of a good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, since we're not going to talk about Portrait of Ruin, we can already say that when it comes to Jonathan, he actually has more descendant promise with Belmont, and he is actually able to utilize the full potential of the whip, unlike his father. Exactly. So that was actually a really interesting fact that I found out and I didn't know. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So let's head into the next game in the series, which is also a very special one, in my opinion, and also one of my favorite games within the series. I love this game so freaking much.
Yeah.
But we're going to listen to the song Clockwork from the game Castlevania Circle of the Moon. Castlevania Circle of the Moon, Clockwork. Yeah, during the song while we were listening to this, you actually said something really nice here. You said it was really nice and funky.
Yeah.
This is super funky. You're going on and killing shit when this is on.
Yeah.
I just love this. And usually the clockwork part of the tower of Dracula's castle. Sorry, mixing up all the names here. But yeah, you usually this is like a returning thematic of the game. You have these in the older games. You're jumping around on cogs and such.
Yep.
And yeah, of course, it's going to return here as well because apparently Dracula never redecorates his castle.
Exactly.
What we talked about earlier, you have the kind of like water temple here going on with all the clock
you
things
got the water part, you got the clock part, you got the wall chicken.
Wall chicken. Can never go a game without a wall chicken. Come on.
Exactly.
And it's also known as a cockatrice.
Yeah. Well, actually,
I'm just gonna put on my glasses.
Yeah. So,
but looking at the composers here, we actually have two of them. So the composers for this game are the Japanese Sotaro Tojima and Hiroshi Mitsuoka. And the game here was released worldwide during 2001, so a little bit earlier for Japan, as per usual, and a little bit later for us in the West. But it was released on the Game Boy Advance and also had a digital release on the Wii U during 2014. And within this game, also yet again, we're not playing as a Belmont. We're actually following Nathan Graves, who is a young vampire killer in training. I jumped in my notes here.
Yeah.
And he has no connections to the Belmont clan at all, whatsoever. Phew!
Yeah.
And during this game, well, kind of already in the beginning, so it's kind of a backstory, I guess you read in the manual, but he has been bestowed the Hunter's Whip. So we're not going to play with the Vampire Killer in this game. And the Hunter's Whip, it is an enchanted whip with the power to repel evil. So looking at this kind of offshoot of just Vampire Killers, they have the Hunter's Whip, which is an enchanted whip, while the Belmont clan had the Vampire Killer.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see what's going on with this, and you see the difference, like black and white, within this game, during this game. Because in this game, instead of having, destroying chandeliers to collect hearts, you still do, though, but you don't have that kind of sub-weapon-esque thing, because you will be killing enemies and collecting the S cards, or cards, just to say it plainly.
Yeah.
And these cards are basically power-ups that changes how the whip works. And that is the one main thing that I really loved about this game.
Yeah, me too. And especially since you have the two different types of cards. Like you have the effect card, and then you have the, should I say, elemental card. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, so like, okay, this is you could like combine those two in different kinds of combinations, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, so you can have a really short whip, but it does insane fire damage, for example, or you can have like an earth element onto like a splitting whip, so all of a sudden you have ranged attacks and stuff like that. It was just super fun to kind of explore all the different combinations. The harder part is finding them. The cards, I mean. Yeah. Do you remember like the whole first thing when you first got your first card? Because you are able to see them, the card slots at least, in the menu.
Yeah, I remember when I picked up the first card. It is in the first area that you come to in the game, which it's I didn't know what I was doing when I was playing it the first time. Mm. So, like, okay, this is a card. What do I do with this? And I went into the menus and started to check out what it did. And then realized, oh, this is the power-up system. This is cool. Mm.
Because when you're starting out this game, the game actually starts out in Dracula's chamber. But you and your rival or the person you're with are dropped down. So your master is stuck with Dracula, and you and this buddy of yours is dropped down. This is actually the son of the master that you guys have. So you can spoil that already. You already know that in the beginning anyway. But yeah, you're dropped down. He goes ahead of you, saying like, fuck off, and then he doesn't like you. That's why you're rivals.
Yeah.
And also he was the one who wanted the whip from his father, but his father didn't want to play favorites, so he actually gave it to Nathan.
Yeah.
And and starting out with this game, this is just like the Symphony of the Night. It is more of a Metroidvania kind of game that we are used to with the Symphony of the Night game. So it is still the more RPG kind of esque gameplay going on here with action-based action. Action-based action, that's weird.
Action-based action.
Yeah, that's how actiony it is. No, but just starting out with this game, it feels like you're still playing like the NES era of Castlevania games. You don't have this, like, you can shoot your whip everywhere, like in the Super Castlevania game. So you can still go up, down, left, right, and just utilize these power-ups when you get them. But in the beginning, it just feels like just a typical Castlevania game. And that's why you don't really pay attention to the cards until they drop.
Yeah, exactly.
And just when you're going about, you don't really know who drops them. There's not like, when you kill 100 skeletons, there's a 100% chance you're going to drop a card. No, these are all random. So you can do a full playthrough And you don't know who drops what. You don't know the cards themselves because there are no information about them. So I'm actually a little bit unsure because I never remember talking to somebody, getting information. Oh, you can collect this by killing a lot of guys with access or stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All this is just randomly dropped. So you can do a playthrough where you're just super unlucky and just collect like 3 cards, for example.
Yeah, you could do that, but like some of the cards have a really high drop rate.
Yes.
So you will never go through the game. Well, I'm not
without
gonna,
cards at least.
Exactly. I'm not gonna say never because I'm sure that someone did, and I was like, well, actually.
Then most likely they avoided cards.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have anything like you need this card in order to come by this or stuff like that.
No, I don't think
these
so.
cards are just able to help you out. For example, there are some power-ups with the Earth element, for example, that actually makes pillars. And these pillars, you are able to jump up on them, and then you can actually go to higher places where you weren't able to go to before. They can help you kind of transcend into other areas sooner or later instead of running the long way, for example. So it kind of comes with really nice functionality that I really do enjoy for this game. And that's why it kind of made a bigger impact for me. It still has that amazing music as you hear in the background. It comes with a really nice action. You're still going on and about killing stuff and it feels fun. You had the customization system, which adds the extra layer of fun where you can kind of find your own playstyle, which works the best. You are also able to find like weaknesses on different enemies by utilizing fire, for example, for certain enemies. And this also works for some of the bosses within this game as well. And of course, it's going to be like a Mega Man boss. You learn the different patterns and you learn their weaknesses, and then the game becomes easier. And that's what I think is just the great part about this game. And then also, it was handheld. They did have Game Boy for the second and the third game, right? Or did they actually have one for the first game as well? I'm a little bit unsure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, actually. So
yeah. We will look that up sometime.
Yeah.
If we care enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to the story of this game, what is the story behind Circle of the Moon?
Well, the story behind Circle of the Moon is that Carmilla, minion of Dracula, who's been around for since the second game, actually.
She's been in the background?
Yeah, she's been in the background and done some stuff. She's trying to resurrect Dracula, and she does again, with which she actually uses Morris for. So that's kind of fun. And I don't mean the Morris family. I mean
the Morris Baldwin character.
Baldwin character,
yeah.
Exactly.
So this was actually quite confusing because you always remember Morris because of the last name, the Morris clan.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you have the master called Morris Baldwin. Like, what the hell is
so
happening?
it's Morris Baldwin, which he actually uses for the ritual to summon Dracula again. So it was all a trap. And that's
it's
when.
a trap.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you fall through the younguns fall through the floor, and she grabs the old man. So yeah, that's basically the story. And like you said before, Hugh, which is the son of Morris, that you fight alongside with in this game or rival against, is jealous that Nathan got the whip and not him. So he's trying to like prove that he's worthy, and the jealousy comes through. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have to fight him at one point.
Yes.
Spoilers. Exactly. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but it is all good. but yeah, that is happening as well. And yeah, this is all because of jealousy. Because yes, when it comes to you, he is actually the better one. He is better. He excels in speed. He excels in power, and he has a good wits. But when it comes to Nathan, he is actually a person of interest, and of course, during the game, he grows as a person as well.
Exactly.
And that kind of comes through why he is kind of the better choice for the Hunter's Whip. And that is because of this jealousy that comes through. So it is kind of coming through in a good way, story and gameplay wise, I would say.
Yeah. I agree. Like, Nathan grows in this task, while Hugh doesn't, basically.
Exactly. He's just going around being an ass.
Exactly.
I'm freaking good. I can kill two.
Yeah. So that's basically what happens in this game. But it's so interesting. Like the whole, like you said, Metroidvania style of the game. You go through the castle. As you progress, you get stronger, and you unlock other parts of the castle. You get these cards that can give you an even further boost. So it's very interesting in its layout, and it's too bad that we only got this for the Game Boy Advanced.
Yes, I would love to see a remake of this one.
Yeah, me too.
So we can have it on PC or the newer consoles at least.
And go for it.
Yeah, so the only release we had after that one was for the Wii U, and that was for the eShop and Virtual Console. So you're only able to play the Game Boy Advanced version of this game. I think the easier way to play it today is through emulator, sadly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think everybody has a copy of this one, and if I remember correctly, since a lot of people do like it, it's also been pushed up a little bit when it comes to cost.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, I think.
Yeah, and myself, I don't own a Game Boy Advance, so I'm unable to play this on a real console, so I need to download it. But yeah, since they closed down the eShop for Wii U, I can't even download it. So
yeah,
technically, I need to buy a new console and able to just play this game.
Exactly.
So I wonder if I can just throw my money at Konami and then just download it.
Yeah,
illegally.
That's the thing about Konami, isn't it? It has all of these like really, really great titles that they just refuse to release on any other markets. It's strange, really strange.
But since it wasn't long ago, because they are very close, if it was like last year or if it is actually this year, I'm a little bit unsure, but they did do the 30-year anniversary or something.
Yeah.
With the first games, at least. I think it was like 1 to 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they did like an anniversary collection. I think they should return with more of those.
Yeah, they also
keep releasing.
Exactly. They also did the whole Castlevania Requiem, which was the two stories with Richter Belmont, which is Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Rondo of Blood is starting... Symphony of the Night is starting where Rondo of Blood ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they put them together into a special release. That's released for the PS4, I think.
Yeah. And just looking at the different releases, more of these bundled up releases are more commonly known nowadays, in more modern time. But they actually did one combo pack as well. And this was for the Harmony of Dissonance, and I don't remember the other game. Was it Area of Sorrow? It's for Game Boy Advance as well.
No, it was Circle of the Moon. It's the
Circle of the Moon. Okay.
It's the other Game Boy Advance game. It's Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance, which came for the Game Boy Advanced. And then you get... Wow, no, wait, you're right. Area of Sorrow is also on Game Boy Advanced.
Yeah. No, I just remember they had a bundled version at least, which is super expensive today because a lot of people it's like, oh, it's 2 Castlevania in 1. Get super excited, but also might be because not many of those released. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
like some sort of. I don't know why.
I think the Harmony of Dissonance is kind of hard to get by.
Okay.
Because I don't think it made that big of a hit actually. when it was released. It's like, it has cult status now, but I don't think it was that huge when it came.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
Circle of the Moon is the one that most people picked up, I think.
That
or
Circle of the Moon
or
is
Area of Sorrow.
amazing. Yeah. No, but I really myself I find this one as one of my favorites. A lot of people hold Symphony of the Night as the best Castlevania game. But also, of course, it's going to be better looking at, well, the PS1 is actually performing way better than a Game Boy Advance does.
Yeah.
Looking at all the specifications for the console itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of them are amazing games. But in my case, for me specifically, because of the uniqueness of the game, I like Circle of the Moon more.
Yeah, I like Circle of the Moon more as well. I think I've certainly played Symphony of the Night more, but I also really like Circle of the Moon. The only sad part is that they don't release high quality music from the GBA.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
the soundchip wasn't
sad.
that much better than like Super Nintendo, basically.
Yeah, but still, I would have loved to have like
it has its charms.
Crisper quality of the sound files. Though.
Definitely, that's why we need a remake of it now, so we can hear the music in its all functional glory. Exactly. No, but I think just comparing, like a fast comparison before we head into the last song of the week, just comparing, like, looking at Symphony of the Night, you don't have this intricate kind of combination system that you had with the cards. It's more of a straightforward RPG. Yeah, I'm equipping this weapon, I'm using this thing, I'm using these power-ups and stuff like that. And it's just like... it's just a real-time role-playing game. It's an action RPG. When you're looking at Castlevania Circle of the Moon, it is still an action RPG, but you're not... Of course, you're equipping like an armor and stuff like that, but due to this combination system, it feels so much more fresh, in my opinion.
Yeah, it has something really different about it. Like it evokes this feeling of new.
Something never seen.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's some obscure game out there. It's like,
of course.
Chris, haven't you seen this game? It's actually like the same.
Yeah, of course there is.
Yeah, I won't argue with that.
Creativity is dead. You know, it's just
everybody's just copying everyone nowadays.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that will kind of sums up the main story, because in the last game, it's more of a spin-off series to the Castlevania. It's like a mashup, so to speak.
Yes.
So is there anything else you want to say about the Castlevania story-wise before we kind of end that part?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Yeah, there are a couple of more games when it comes story-wise. So the Bloodlines is actually, according to this Castlevania Dungeon, Bloodlines is one of the last ones. We have Portrait of Ruin after, we have the Demon Castle Wars, Castlevania Area of Sorrow, and Dawn of Sorrow before the kind of story ends there, because that's the latest one time-wise. Yeah.
The Area of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow is in the 2000s, I think.
Yeah, 2035 and 2036. So we're soon there. Yay us!
Yay!
We're going to have a Castlevania war, and we all can go and visit Dracula's castle.
Yeah, we're going to be sucked into an eclipse that's going to happen, and that's where we're partying.
Yeah, everybody, just get ready. Woo! It's just like. What is it? 21. So about 14 more years.
Yeah, 14 more years.
Let's look forward to this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. What? And with that said, we're shoving that story up now, and let's listen to the last song of this week. We're going to listen to Crimson Blood from Castlevania Harmony of Despair. last song of the week. This was Crimson Blood from Castlevania Harmony of Despair. And yeah, holy hell. What a song you pick.
Yeah, it's Harmony of Despair is one of those games that a lot of people dodged out of because it's not a real Castlevania game in the sense of like playing you're fighting against Dracula and
you have a story
and have a story. Exactly. This is basically a multiplayer grind fest party.
It's an arcade game. Just say what it is. It is an arcade game.
It's an arcade game
with the name Castlevania.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a almost Monster Hunter-ish game, but you don't, because you have to like go out and grind to get better weapons and stuff like that. So it's kind of like that, but it's a weird game. It's weird, but it has really awesome music.
You're going on like a one-screen adventures, which is weird, especially when you're playing with multiple players. When you're playing alone, you have this kind of really nice camera that's just focusing on you. But if you're playing like 4 people, which you are able to do in this game, and everybody's running for their own corner of the game, the camera is just zooming out until you don't see like anything else on the screen.
Yep.
Which is super tedious, to be honest.
it's super weird. But if you have 3 friends that also have the game and also connect to the same game lobby, you can have a really good time with this game. But it's very you have to have all of those 4 people to really be able to play this game, which is why I think a lot of people missed this actually pretty fun game to play. But like you can really sink your days into it. But but you get to play this game is like an amalgamation where they've just taken all of the main characters and into one game. Here, go out and play. You can play as Soma, you can play as Alucard, you can play as Jonathan and Charlotte, you can play as Shanoa. You can play as Julius, Yoko, Richter, Maria, and Simon.
Yes, and it is actually the 8-bit version of Simon as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hilarious. And those are added. The ones you took last here is added through DLCs as well. Yeah. So they added they had 6 chapters in the original game, 7 chapters for the PS3 version. The game was also released, or mainly released, on Xbox 360 and was also converted to the Xbox One series. And the game released back on the 4th of August 2010.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a spin-off game where you play a lot of different characters, and you're basically just thrown into the mix of random dungeons. You go around and collect certain items, and then a boss is popping up in this dungeon. So you can't just go into a random room. It's like, oh, it's a boss here. Well, bye!
Yeah, exactly.
So you're going around the castle, which is just randomly randomized, and you will collect items and such, power-ups, items, sub-weapons. And then all of a sudden, when you collected what you need for the mission itself, you will see the boss, and everybody can go in there and just have fun killing that boss.
The fun part about it is that all of the different kind of people that you play have their own way of becoming stronger and stuff like that. Like Alucard has his leveling up system, the sub weapons for Simon and Richter, and then you have Soma, which collects the souls like he does in his game. So it's like it's really interesting that they just.
It's a male name, Shanoa?
Oh no, Soma.
Oh, Soma. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah. Shanoa is a girl.
I thought it was the same character.
Oh no,
we said it differently.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
My bad. Soma is the character with white hair. It looks a little bit emo.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's Soma is the person you play in Area of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow, and Shanoa is the girl from Order of Ecclesia.
Yes. Then I know. As I said before, I'm the noob here. You're the one educating me.
Yeah. But
another
the
character
little-
you're able to play in this game, which I have no clue about. But he doesn't come from the Castlevania series, but he comes from a game Konami has worked on. And the character is Getsufuma from the Getsufuma Den series, which is like a Japanese Edo time demon hunter character. So it's like a samurai going around killing. So that's a character also available to be played within this game.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have any real ties to the Castlevania series. It's just another game that Konami was like, hey, let's do this.
Show this character nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
but that's basically because Getsuzuma Den was mainly just released and exclusively released in Japan.
Yeah.
So I think it's just fun for us Western people to kind of, oh, there's a new character. Oh, wonder where he comes from, and then notice, oh, I can play it.
Yeah. Well.
Well, it was fun while it lasted. But looking at the composer for this one, damn, we got many composers for this one. Looking at first of all, the sound director, which kind of just put everything so everything was working as intended. We have the Japanese Yasuhiro Ichihashi. And then we have a lot of different... when you wrote this song, you wrote like 2 names for this one.
Yeah.
There are actually, let's see in my notes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 musicians working on this project. Music.
Yep.
So how about should we go for a little bit of slaughtering of Japanese names, you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. Yeah. So first of all of these are Japanese composers, most likely from the Kokea Club here. So first of all, we have Tomoaki Hirono, Norikazu Miura, Atsushi Sato, Nobuyuki Akena, Yasuhishi Ito, Sota Fujimori, Yasuhiro Ichihashi. I already said one. Okay, so he's a musician as well. And Toshihishi Furusawa. So there we go. There's a lot of people going in, and I don't know who of these guys made this song Crimson Blood specifically, but this one is a blast. This song is amazing in my opinion.
It's very like power metal-ish in its composition, and it feels to me like it's very inspired by like something that Daisuke Ishiwatari would do, like the guy who does the music for Guilty Gear.
I can see it.
And he has in turn said how much Castlevania has influenced his music taste. So it's a full circle of musical inspiration there, I think.
Everybody inspiring each other.
Exactly. So it's if you're really into like the sound of this song, you should really check out the Guilty Gear soundtrack as well, because they're very similar in tone. Yeah.
Very different in game, however.
Oh yes.
Since Guilty Gear is a fighting game.
Yes.
1-on-1. No, but I really like this song, first of all, since I haven't played much. I played a demo of this game, so I was a little bit limited in what I could choose to play and so on. I didn't have any people to play with. And also, when it comes to a little bit of a difference, when you played on Xbox 360 or Xbox One, maybe they made a little bit of change, but playing on Xbox, you actually need to play online. And for playing online, you had to have Xbox Live. So that was the only way to kind of play with people. Exactly. While playing on the PlayStation 3, you were actually able to play locally, couch play.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks when you have a 360.
Yeah. Well,
I was so pissed off when I read that. I was like, "Come on!"
But the thing is, the couch co-op was atrocious as well, because like you said, you had to like zoom in and out to be able to see what you're actually doing. Which it wasn't. It wasn't great.
The most pleasant version.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the most pleasant game at all. But
what they should have done is split screen for this game.
Yeah.
I think that would be much better, because you're zooming out so much that it's hard to kind of see the fine detail of when enemies are actually fighting at you. Or if a skeleton like throws a bone, it's like, "There's a bone here."
Yeah,
you see one pixel just flying at you. No, that is the hard part and kind of what made the game worse, especially when you're playing online. I mean, why do I need to zoom the screen in and out? I can have my own screens as I'm the only one playing on my console.
Exactly.
I don't care really where the others are, as long as they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
Their shtick.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a weird idea. They tried something new. It didn't really pan out, but the music lives on.
They could have patched it.
They could have. I go back. Try it again.
Yeah, do it right.
Exactly. I'm sure that someone at Konami is like, yeah, I can do that.
But he won't because he doesn't get the resources or time to do so.
No, and also it's not a pachinko machine, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't give money all the time. But yeah, this is a spin-off game. I really like the song. It reminded me myself. You said Guilty Gears. For me, it was the Y series from Falcom. I really love all the things going on. I don't know when they started to transcend into more orchestral, to real musical instruments. But I would say it's somewhere around PlayStation 1 era, right?
Yeah.
Which is nice. We're starting to hear more guitars coming in. We're getting the beats and drops coming in.
Yeah, and still the like symphonic undertones behind all the powerful rock. So it's really like an amalgamation of everything that all of the composers throughout the Castlevania series has tried to do, like fusing the modern and the classic.
Yes, and that is not exclusively for Castlevania either. For example. Nobuo Uematsu is utilizing a lot of classic in his work as well, and everybody else is talking about the Final Fantasy music being such hardcore rock as well sometimes.
Exactly. So there's
a lot of connections there.
Exactly, and it's like this whole thing that classical music and modern music oppose each other, but they really don't. They complement each other.
Definitely. So. No, but it was a great pick. I really loved all your picks for this week. It was amazing.
Thank you.
It was awesome to hear the story a little bit more as well, as I'm not that well versed within the Castlevania storyline. Mostly because I didn't have all the manuals. Because that's how you usually got all the story.
Yeah.
So what would you say about Castlevania series today? Is that the newer games, do you like them still as much as the older games as well? Or have you seen like a difference in how they make and how you interpret the games as well?
Well, I really loved Symphony of the Night, so it doesn't bother me at all that we got into that direction of a more Metroidvania kind of meld of games.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then again, I think there's a charm about the old games, and I do prefer the 2D games for the 3D games, but then again, I really like the story in both Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness, which have really solid stories, both of them. So and also I recently read that they're going to do a spin-off on the Castlevania animated series now that is going to follow Richter instead of Trevor. So
but it's interesting that they say spin-off. It's still the same series, just a new character. So it's nice to see a spin-off of it, because
I think it needs
ended up now with the last season. Doesn't that feel like the ending for Trevor and Sypha?
It feels like the ending for the whole series, because I'm not going to talk about it, but it really felt like they tied everything together at the end. So
definitely.
So it felt like this is the end of the series. So that's why I think they're choosing to call it a spin-off instead.
Okay. This is gonna be nice. It's going to be nice to follow it. It is a great way for me to follow it. I follow things way better through video rather than like text or a game. Sometimes it is hard for me, especially if it comes down to a lot of text. I'm getting quite bored. I want the action combination with a story, for example,
and also like the implied story between. What is it, like 25 games, something like that?
Yeah. So many games.
So like playing through all the games and then like realizing the story between them and stuff like that. It's gonna be quite the ride, even if you don't want to read like everything.
Yeah.
So
I understand. One other thing I want to kind of bring forth, since they've transcended more into like 3D space now with the Castlevania series for the Lords of Shadow and stuff like that. One thing I kind of miss when it transcended into 3D is the breakable walls with food in them.
Yeah.
I think they should make a new game where they have food in walls.
Yep, me too. Agreed. Konami, if you're listening.
You know who wants the royalties later.
Yeah.
That's why they will never put food in walls.
Yeah.
God damn it. But yeah, so that is the end of the Castlevania special for this time. I think we might maybe return one day to talk a little bit more about the reboot, Lords of Shadow series, because I know there are a couple of people out there who really like those as well. I am currently playing Lords of Shadow 2. I've played the first one. I really did enjoy that one. But you also have the 2.5D kind of version of Lords of Shadow as well. So it's gonna be amazing to try those out as well to see what they kind of bring forth with the same kind of series, having the 2.5D and the 3D.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, thank you so much, Christoffer, for joining in this week. Is there anything else you want to plug here when you're able to when you're joining this podcast?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I'm doing my own podcast called Game Over. Like I said, it's in Swedish, but for all the Swedish listeners, you can listen to that if you want to know more about my insight into gaming.
A lot of Castlevania.
Yeah, there's more than only Castlevania.
But is there any other thing you want to plug? Any projects or something you're working on that you want to talk about, or is there any way for people to kind of follow you on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm on Instagram, Ultrafail, right there on Instagram. That's where you can follow me. There's going to be a lot of cute puppy pictures coming up. The following months probably.
So
because
like
I'm getting
puppies?
a puppy. Yeah. I'm getting a puppy on in 2 weeks actually. So
what puppy race? I don't know. Are people talking about puppy race, or it's like people talk about breeds. I know this.
Yeah. It's a corgi.
Oh my god.
So yeah,
they're so freaking cute. If I'm getting a dog, it's either going to be a corgi because they look so freaking happy every time you're looking at them. They're just super hilarious and I love them. Or it's going to be an American Akita because of Silver Fang.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm ever getting a dog, I'm more of a lizard person, but if I'm ever getting a dog, it would be either one of those two. I would never get something else.
Yeah, so we're really excited and happy about that. So there's going to be a lot of pictures of that coming up.
Oh, awesome. But yet again, thank you so much for joining in on a Castlevania special here with me talking about Castlevania.
Thank you.
So yeah, other episodes of Finally Game Music, you'll find those on Videospelsklubben.se, Spotify, or in your closest podcast app. You're free to follow any of our social medias and comment there. It's either on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Finally Game Music and you'll find us there. If you would like to hear your name within one of these special episodes, then feel free to request a song for an upcoming episode by commentating on any of the social media pages or through Videospelsklubben's own Discord. And you can also support this podcast for future content and future quality updates and so on. It would be great to have you as a backer. And in the end, you also support future composers by becoming a Patreon backer. And the awesome current backers that we have today is Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being such an amazing people backing this podcast. And links where you can find and either buy the music, I think is a little bit harder for all the older games here, but maybe we can find like a good CD or something for the Harmony of Despair, hopefully. But yeah, there you will have the dungeon, Castlevania dungeon link, and we will also get links for Christoffer's all social media where you can find him and also his podcast. And the next theme, so next week we're going to talk about narrative-driven games. I'm actually looking forward to this. Chris, do you have any narrative-driven game that you really like, that you played maybe recently, or a game that kind of influenced you bigger?
Yeah, I would say one of the best narrative-driven games I've played is the whole series of Blackwell, the Blackwell series. It's a point-and-click adventure, but it's really like what really gets you about the whole games is the story. So.
I heard good about it. Not too many. I don't have that many friends that play point and click, but I heard good things about it. I myself, for more recent days, I would say Heavy Rain for me is a really, really nice narrative-driven game.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to kind of dig deep into this thematic to see what kind of narrative games did I miss that are super popular, or what games are there that I really, really like, and are there any narrative-driven games that kind of drives narrative in a unique way, for example?
Yeah.
I don't know. We will see what I come up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that said, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in for this week's of Finally Game Music. And see you all, guys, next time. Have a great one. Bye!
Bye!